Nurses question vaccine effectiveness. PM Controller Secretary get first jab. And Nambawan Super declares revenue.
This is National EMTV News with Helen Seah.
Good evening and thanks for joining us for Wednesday's news. The Papua New Guinea Nurses Association is questioning the effectiveness of the AstraZeneca vaccine. PNGNA President Frederick Kebai says education and awareness on the vaccines should have been carried out for frontline health workers before the rollout. The Nursing Association has appealed for more research and tests to be carried out on the vaccine.
The PNGNA expressed their concerns this morning. General Secretary Gibson Siune questioned the process of vaccination. He questions the use of consent forms and the monitoring of patients after being vaccinated for possible reactions.
Are they using us as a clinical trial? Or are they, if the vaccine is safe, I don't think we should be signing consent forms. And we should be observed. We should just go and receive our vaccines. Why are we going through this process? The government and the National Department has to come out clear and inform the people.
PNGNA is also concerned about the safety and effectiveness of the vaccine. Mr. Siune says nurses should be educated about the vaccine so that they can manage their duties as frontline workers to address COVID-19. And more research and tests to be carried out by the Medical Research Institute on the vaccine to ensure its credibility.
To be researched or tested by our Medical Research Institute in the country, or to be tested by our NDOH quality testing.
To do a proper educational awareness on these particular vaccines, especially to our health workers, so that we will now disseminate this information to the recipient, to the population now that yes, that vaccine is safe.
PNGNA is also urging the Department of Health and the government to come clear about the information that is collected during the process of vaccination.
If they are, filling out consent forms, observation, definitely it will generate informations. Where will these informations end up? Will these informations go back to the manufacturer, or will it become a property for the National Department of Health? Whatever happens in the country under health, information and statistics, research has to go through a committee to be certified, approved, before it is disseminated. What will be the information management if they are collecting information on the implementation of vaccine?
Gertrude Gabi, National EMTV News.
Prime Minister James Marape has reiterated that the AstraZeneca vaccine will not be forced on anyone, even the frontline workers. However, PM Marape says the government will not turn a blind eye as COVID cases double and put a strain on the country's health system. The Prime Minister made this statement following his jab of the AstraZeneca vaccine yesterday in Port Moresby.
Prime Minister James Marape and other bureaucrats were at the National Football Stadium yesterday to kickstart the vaccination program for the country. Adhering to the protocols, he signed a consent form before getting a shot of the vaccine. The Prime Minister says his vaccination is to give assurance to healthcare workers and the people. Speaking following his jab, he maintained that the AstraZeneca vaccine was recommended upon based evidence and constant dialogue with health authorities, the World Health Organization and development partners. He says the vaccine is to manage the impacts of the COVID-19 pandemic. PM Marape says it's an option available to all but is not mandatory. Controller David Manning, Health Secretary Dr. Osborne Liko and City Governor Paul Spakop and other officials were also vaccinated. Meanwhile, the Prime Minister has also assured the general public that the vaccine is safe while brushing aside its side effects. The rollout of the AstraZeneca vaccine is expected to commence in the coming week. Jagla Power Jr., National EMTV News.
The Catholic Bishops' Conference of PNG has given its support to the rollout of the AstraZeneca vaccine in the country. With the Prime Minister receiving the vaccine yesterday, Cardinal John Ribart says the government is not forcing people to be vaccinated, but it encourages people to do what is right for their health. He also supported the call to have the country's frontline health workers given priority to be vaccinated.
Therefore, I would see it as important that all frontline people, especially health workers, because they will be working always with our people infected and coming for help and so on. And so therefore, I would see that it is important that all health workers, the frontliners, they are all frontliners, to be able to take this vaccine. Though it is I think that was the important that they emphasized, the government emphasized, that because our health service must continue to function, and really they are the nurses, the doctors, they have to make sure that these health services are functioning throughout the country. And regardless of whether it belongs to the churches or to the government or other organizations, all of them must be together. So I would also say that the vaccine, while the vaccine may not be enough to reach out to all, but I'm hearing also in the news that other vaccines also are coming from China and others also. So I think that will be a good thing. So for me, I'm encouraging that all the frontliners, and especially our health workers, should be able to take this vaccine also to help them.
The Highlands Regional Unions of the National Doctors and Nurses Association is supporting the call by the Western Highlands Provincial Health Authority staff to be vaccinated. This comes after receiving information that the 8,000 AstraZeneca vaccines will only be given to the frontline health workers in Port Moresby and Western Province. They have threatened to close down services.
Director Medical Services Dr. Jonah Kroby says the hospital has already scaled down some of its services due to funding constraints and is likely to completely shut down services with the surge of COVID-19 cases. 50 hospital staff has already contracted COVID-19, from which 4 are at the isolation ward. The PHA health workers raised these concerns in a news conference today with the call to be vaccinated immediately.
To date, we have not received any information whether we're going to get the portion of the 8,000 vaccines that have arrived in Port Moresby. And we believe that we have an excellent cold chain system, and other vaccines have been rolled out in previous years, and this should not be a problem here.
Due to both the financial crisis and the inconsistency of receiving Gene Expert cartridges, they cannot test their staff, persons of interest, or follow up on those who are on self-isolation. They say this is an immediate issue that needs to be addressed.
With the rise in COVID-19, the number of patients going into the ward, and then extending the COVID-19 ward, that requires extra nurses, so we have actually closed down some of our services to bring that manpower onto the COVID-19 roster. The nurses are the frontliners to all the services from the rural facilities into the hospital. I don't want more staff, so more nurses to be infected, and I don't want the innocent people to suffer.
Meanwhile, the National Doctors Association Highlands Regional President Dr. John Macup Jr. says the vaccinating of frontline health workers in NCD and Western Province alone was a biased decision made. Dr. Macup Jr. said their safety is as important as those in these two provinces, and the union will support any measures taken. WHPHA has 5 doctors down with COVID, including doctors from Mendi Hospital, Hela and Kundiyawa.
They're human, knowing that they're coming here to put their lives at risk without a government that's concerned about their safety. What does that mean? People will walk off their jobs, literally. And from a union front, I cannot stop that. I'm willing to stand with my staff, with my doctors, because someone has decided to give the vaccine to a select few people, which is wrong, ethically and morally wrong, irregardless of where you're working, should get vaccinated throughout Papua New Guinea.
The Nurses Association, which has the largest number of frontline health workers, also threatens to stop work if they are not vaccinated. They are giving until next Friday for the vaccines to be rolled out nationwide.
We're demanding for the vaccines to be here. If the vaccines are not here, then please, we are saying here, the union now, we are in combination, expect the unexpected in Western Islands province, because we might shut down the services because who is going to be here? The positive ones are having 14 days off. We have limited number of staff that are working in Western Islands, and if the 10% are going, who else is left to attend to these patients?
The PNG Medical Scientists Association Highlands representative said they have stopped doing lab testing due to no cartridge, and this has posed threat to an increase of cases.
Samples that are coming into the lab is more than 200 to 300. And also, we are sending all, apart from the vaccine, we are sending all our samples down to CPHL because government is not providing us with cartridges for gene expert, confirmatory testing, also for RDT, PAN-BO, IG, RDT testing as well.
The WHPHA and the union reps are calling on the government to roll out vaccines so that frontline health workers can be vaccinated. Vasinatha Yama, National EMTV News, Mount Hagen.
United Nations Development Programme, in partnership with the Royal Papua New Guinea Constabulary, has launched a new information management system that will protect women and girls across the country. The launch of the new system will allow law enforcement authorities to better coordinate and for family sexual violence units to improve access to justice and referral pathways for violent survivors. Cadet journalist Esther Tylam with this report.
UNDP has seen another success of the initiative of creating a much easier approach to report methods to the authorities. UNDP resident representative says UNDP is proud to be supporting this important work, stating gender-based violence has no place in PNG. This information and file management system is another step forward, ending GBV and to enable access to justice for survivors.
So again, this system will help to better deal with an increased caseload. It will automate and streamline processes and will help victims to get faster access to support and also to justice.
FSVU director and UNDP representative said the system will make certain all FSVU teams are equipped with more information to better handle family and sexual violence cases.
For the victims, it will help victims to track their cases, and in the long run, we are looking also to communicate, especially with the referral pathway, with our partner service providers who are providing support to the work police is doing.
Representatives of the RPNGC expressed gratitude towards UNDP for their support. Deputy Commander Laimo Asi said the introduced database system is a way forward as all crimes will be stored electronically, and it also makes it easier for case tracking.
This program should be put into crime directorate so that all the crimes that are committed within the country or within the community should be recorded.
The system will bring forth effective response and protection for victims of criminal acts in the country.
And get the protection that they need. So it's been really amazing to see what's been done, and I know that Mr. Ndek and her team are very delighted, and we continue to support them.
This support was made possible through the UNDP Rapid Response Facility, a global response facility which was set up to support countries facing the risk of increased incidence of GBV during the COVID-19 pandemic-related lockdowns and restrictions. Esther Tylam, National EMTV News.
Nambawan Super Limited today announced a net profit of 89 million kina from its 2020 financial results. This result allowed the fund to declare a 1% interest, which has been credited to members' accounts. Nambawan Super Chairman Raj Monagi says the 2020 financial results have been significantly impacted by the pandemic and the battered PNG economy.
In a news conference this morning, Nambawan Super Chairman Reg Monagi gave an update on their 2021 financial results.
So members and contributors.
Their financial results for the year 2020 were severely affected by the coronavirus pandemic and the challenging economy. However, they have announced a net profit of 89 million kina. This allows them to declare 1% interest, which has been credited to members' accounts.
Nambawan Super's net asset value now totals 8.14 billion kina, up from 7.6 billion kina last year. Net profit for the year is 89 million kina, and that equates to a 1% return to the members.
According to the chairman, the year 2020 was not the year they had planned for. The difficult economic conditions caused by the pandemic heavily impacted values and results for many of the fund's key investments in the PNG economy. And while the 2020 results will be disappointing for members, the primary cause was the reduced values of some of the fund's well-established PNG investments. However, these are expected to bounce back when the economic conditions improve.
Despite a lower than average investment performance in 2020, compound average returns over the past 5 years have been 5.7%, almost a full percent over CPI for the period, which means real returns to members.
But despite the low crediting rate, the fund's net assets grew by 6.2% due to the strong membership contributions and now stand at 8.14 billion kina. The total contributions for the year 2020 were 893 million kina, an increase from 832 million kina. Total membership payouts were 525 million kina, a decrease from 546 million kina, and the fund membership grew to over 207,000.
2020 should be recognised as a challenging year, but it's also a year of innovation for the fund to try to look at how can we actually continue to service members so that we can actually make sure that people try to understand what superannuation is about for that long-term saving.
Going into the future, there are still many challenges. This includes employers meeting contribution obligations, payment from tenants and suppliers, unfunded employer benefits, among others. And engagement with members is difficult in this COVID-19 environment. But despite these challenging times, members have been encouraged to continue this saving culture.
In these tough times, I would encourage all members to continue to save and to not be distracted from saving by the changing economic climate. Savings remain critical to the long-term financial survival of all members, as superannuation is long-term.
Rayon Lakingu National, MTV News.
You're watching National MTV News. We'll have more stories after the break. Stay with us. Welcome back. Cardinal Sir John Ribard says celebrations of the Holy Week will not be commemorated as usual compared to last year because of the pandemic. Instead, Catholic faithfuls will celebrate in their respective parishes. Cardinal Ribard announced this in a news conference this morning.
Holy Thursday and Good Friday and then Easter. So you know that for the crosswalk on Friday, that is out already. I did not allow that because that usually calls many people together, unites many people together for this a great activity. It's really a faith activity. But at this moment, that is not on already. Last year was not on, this year again. But to all our listeners and to our parishes, I have given the instruction that, and also in the circular, that we will have only 50 people celebrating during the time of all those occasions. But also I gave the instruction that they could have, to make sure that many people are celebrating, to have celebrations how many times? Maybe two or three times. For example, the masses, they can have it, 2 times, 3 times, to make sure that everyone take part in celebration.
The Archbishop of the Madang Catholic Diocese has officially opened the beginning of the setup of a new high school in the province. Anton Baal says this is part of the church's initiative to assist the government and the people of Madang. This will help in addressing the problem of accommodating an increasing number of eligible grade 8 students.
This morning, a groundbreaking ceremony was headed by the Archbishop of the Catholic Diocese of Madang, Anton Baal. The ceremony marks the birth of a new high school in the province. This was in response to the need for more high schools to cater for the increasing number of grade 8 students in the province. These students are qualified to continue to grade 9, but because of the number of spaces, they were left out.
Changes are driven on the secondary high schools, and the number of students that have been pushed out, percentage of students accepted for grade 8, percentage of students have been pushed out to the states.
Madang Catholic Education Secretary Bruno Tulemanil says there is only 3,000 spaces available for grade 9 intakes. For Madang District alone, at least 2,786 students sat for the national examination last year. Madang, Bogia and Middle Ramu are the most affected districts in Madang province.
Kami plus selection ni kamap, or paging ni mi plus selection mo ligo, na majority sa kabekan long place, no sa quantum yung long place. So long Madang District, kami naglulong long district inside long Madang province, the most affected district and Madang district.
Provincial Program Advisor for Education John Sigara says there is a need for more high schools in the province to cater for the number of students missing out. Sigara explains for the last 7 years, the province can only accommodate 3,000 grade 9 intake students out of the 9,000 grade 8 students who sat for the national exams.
We continued sending 6,000 students out, giving us the total of 42,000 young men and women displaced just that.
Divine Word University, Sepita Bata and Madang Chamber of Commerce also provided financial support for the establishment of the new high school. Martha Louise, National EMTV News, Madang.
18 people in Madang will now be able to obtain loans or startup capital at NDB after completing training on financial literacy. NDB Madang branch manager Marian Kenny says the financial literacy certificate is one of the requirements necessary for anyone interested to start up their own business. The participants received their certificates over the weekend following the workshop.
The 18 participants received their financial literacy certificate after the completion of the workshop. The certificate now enables them to access loan at the National Development Bank through the national government initiative in supporting local SME. The participants were taught the basics of planning, budgeting and saving to help them grow into a medium to large-scale business.
So I'm underneath Lodisla. MSME government, and me putting one the National Development Bank where me roll him out now. So this is training blow you plan, and one requirement, you must get certificate. You know a certificate, you know not come na kisim loan underneath law MSME where government put him. Now stop on the National Development Bank. And bahad lo you.
The training was organized through the collaborative efforts of BSP Bank and National Development Bank. BSP Provincial Literacy Trainer Gaudi Manu encouraged the families of the participants to support them.
Family has to come together to understand the importance of how we can look out in. You know, you run into a business now. You have to ask your partner. How many of you go to a training like talk hello, darling to husbands now, wife?
The banks are encouraging more local entrepreneurs to organize themselves in order for the two banks to conduct trainings. Those trainings are free and are part of the bank's obligation in educating local businessmen and women to undertake. Martha Louise, National EMTV News, Madang.
The members of the public and lay have raised concerns over the COVID-19 screening center at the Sir Ignatius Kilage Stadium, saying it's ineffective. They say Screening begins very late in the morning, and there's less than 3 health workers attending to a group of people going in for testing to collect their results and to get a clearance to travel. They've called on the Morbe Provincial Health Authority and other responsible authorities to collaborate and work together during the pandemic.
In Ley, the COVID-19 screening center is located here at Ley's Sir Ignatius Kilage Indoor Stadium's volleyball court area. People queue up here from Monday to Friday to be tested, get the clearance to travel out of Ley, and to get the results after testing. Today, the members of the public raised concerns of how they are being served here at the provincial screening center.
This method of collective samples, it's sort of ineffective. You see, we cannot get a test today and get our result 7 days after. Somebody can get tested today and be negative, and while waiting for the result to come back from home, he could contract the disease within the 7 days.
The results maybe harim to win. Maybe the first batches, the oldest is the 15th. So maybe line no 22, 23 this last time. Suppose 15 already. That means we're just standing out here with the rest of the others that are here to take tests. Now clearance where sick or no, just like travel, Now what about us? Maybe last one they must uncertainty.
Now maybe sana almost close to 1 o'clock now. Maybe kita stable, maybe come to kisi clearance, sample come to test. So one block manta solo and walk inside lab, one block Mary sister and walk inside lab. Na maybe kita sana play morning edin now.
In April last year, Morbe Provincial Health Authority was allocated 6.5 million kina to carry out its COVID pandemic operation for the province that includes this screening facility. The funding support was from Leyte District with 1 million kina, Tewaisesi District with 100,000 kina, 1.5 million kina from the Morbe Provincial Government, National Government with 2 million kina, and the Australian Government with 1.9 million kina. According to the members of the public in Ley, there is nothing to show for the COVID-19 screening facility.
If we want to fight the pandemic, we need to be organized. That's a pandemic operation or COVID operation. It has to be properly organized. Like inside lab now, it's not organized. You see, we're standing out here and queue. How do you encourage people to come here and get tested while we have to send here a long queue here? That's not very encouraging. Now, like for people who are working class, we are out here now not working 7 days. It's affecting us, affecting our business houses, and in the long run, affecting the economy of the country. If we want to fight the disease, we have to fight it first and same day, not wasting time. This is pandemic, this is global issue. Now, even though wasting time, better organization. Last year, it's like case Gaman. Government using money go finish now money is low. Money is low, and long like you no got staff lab.
Meanwhile, Morbe Province has 231 COVID cases and 6 deaths as of Thursday last week. From the 231 cases, 131 are active, including 43 health workers. Morbe Provincial Health Authority is yet to recruit casual health workers to operate here at the provincial screening center.
Somebody has to come here and address us. If the government department has to come here or health department has to come here, stand here. This is where the real thing is happening. Bring them down here on the ground. We don't have them. It's affecting us, the citizens, affecting the health workers. Because somebody from the top there is not here to see the things.
Julie Badui, Owa, National EMTV News, Ley.
And now looking at the NASFund market report, the kina opened unchanged at $0.2850 in the interbank markets. At Bank South Pacific, your kina will buy $0.2775 $0.3588 Australian dollars, $0.2277 euro, and 29.84 Japanese yen. Looking at commodity prices at New York close, gold is trading lower. Coffee closed higher, cocoa and copra closed lower. Palm oil closed higher, crude oil is trading lower, and copper closed higher. And on the stock market, the Dow Jones closed at 98.49 points higher. The ASX 200 is trading at 61.1 points lower, and the All Ordinaries is trading at 66.6 points lower. Chukai Sports is next. All the details after the break.
Trukai Sports.
Welcome to Trukai Sports. Money Plus Limited has continued their support of Gazelle Softball Club with the presentation of uniforms and equipment. Players and team management of the club were grateful, saying the support will certainly motivate the players. Huxley Lovai with the details.
The Gazelle Softball Club has received new uniforms and equipment from Money Plus Limited as the company throws its support behind the softball club's campaign this season. Given the shutdown of sporting facilities and the suspension of competitions due to the recent surge in COVID cases, club officials are hopeful that games can resume once the situation allows.
This has been great for the clubs, for the A grade and B grade. Since 2019, we've been performing well. A grade in the top 4 and B grade coming the premiership, and then 2018, 17, and unfortunately for the 2020 to 2020 and 21 been done. We for standby for final that time, but because of the pandemic, the season been called off. But yeah, we've been great. And thank you for the sponsor on board. This will be a bonus for the club, especially the ladies. And it's going to be like the softball is a family game, and it's really a pleasure having the sponsor on our side long, keep the team going.
Thank Money Plus. They've been sponsoring us since 2013. This will be the 8th year now. So due to this COVID tough time, I'm grateful that Money Plus has come on board once again, to sponsor the club. This time getting the new uniforms for B grade ladies who've been doing well in the competition for the last 2 or 3 years. We started in 1979. This year will be the 42nd year for the club itself. So it's really an achievement for the club. Once again, we couldn't go this far to our sponsors, Money Plus.
Huxley Lovai, Trukai Sports.
COVID-19 is here to stay, and sporting competitions will have to deal with the virus if they are to resume competition. Port Moresby Rugby Football League had produced a COVID-19 standard operating procedure last season. With that, they're looking forward to this year's season and its challenges.
Port Moresby Rugby Football League last season in 2020 implemented their standard operating procedure for COVID-19. The administration of Poma RFL say their experience from last season has taught them many lessons on how to mitigate the spread of COVID-19.
Zero positive case identified out of this competition, the Port Moresby Rugby League competition. And that is a huge plus for us going forward in making sure that we attend to our 72nd season for the league.
Despite the increase in COVID-19 numbers compared to last year, Poma RFL is confident that with their experience, they are well prepared.
Our chairman, Dr. James Naipau, did a SOP document, a protocol document that had a theme. The league must be seen as not a vehicle to bond or not a vehicle to increase the spike of COVID-19.
Teams have already started training for the season, but have been urged to abide by the pandemic controller's isolation strategy, which limits sporting activities in groups.
Suggestion is for coaching staff and club officials to come up with individual training schedules and give it to their players, so they either can train in smaller groups, 10 or less, or they can train individually to do road run and other things from home for now.
The competition is just waiting on the authorities, which include the PNG Sports Foundation and the Pandemic Controller's Office, to give the all clear for the competition to commence its 72nd uninterrupted season.
Once we put our guidelines in place, our preparations on the ground in place, and we get the approval from the Controller's Office and PNG Sports Foundation, we will start.
Fidelis Sukina, Trukai Sports.
And that ends Trukai Sports. The weather details after the break.
Trukai Sports. True Kai Sports.
This weather update is proudly brought to you by MoneyPlus, with you always.
I'll look at the weather forecast for tonight and tomorrow in the southern region. Cloudy with some showers in Port Moresby and Popondetta. In the Momase region, cloudy periods with brief overnight showers in Lae and cloudy with brief showers in Vanimo. In the New Guinea Islands region, cloudy with a few evening showers in Lorengau and brief evening showers in Buka. And in the Highlands region, some showers with possible thunderstorms, then morning fog in Mount Hagen and showers with morning fog in Mwabeg. Forecast for small crafts for the next 24 hours. Waters of southern PNG Indonesian border through Torres Strait to Daru to Kiwai Island to Kerma and Yule Island to Hood Point and to Samarai Island, seas of 1 to 1.5 meters. Waters of Samarai Island to Cape Vogel and eastern and western Milne Bay Islands, with waters of Samarai to Cape Vogel to Huon Gulf and Finschhafen, with waters north of Long Island to Medang and Wewak to Aitape to Vanimo, including northern PNG Indonesian border, and with waters of Manus and its western group of islands, and waters of New Ireland to New Britain and Bougainville, seas of 5 to 0.5 to 1 meter. Waters of Finschhafen through Vitiaz and Dampier Straits to CRC and Long Island, seas of 0.5 to 1.3 meters. A look at the ocean forecast for PNG areas in the Coral Sea. Seas moderate with east to southeasterly winds at 15 to 20 knots. In the Solomon Sea, seas smooth with northwest to northerly winds at 5 to 10 knots. In the Bismarck Sea, seas smooth with northeast to northwesterly winds at 5 to 10 knots, and in the Pacific Ocean, seas smooth with northeast to easterly winds at 5 to 10 knots.
The weather update was proudly brought to you by MoneyPlus, with you always.
And that's been the news, sport and weather for Wednesday, 31st of March 2021. On behalf of the news team, pleasant viewing, be safe and good night.